Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network alongside John Kovac. I'm your host, Frank Granito. As we've got a big show here on this Thursday, we will preview the state semifinal games for next Monday afternoon. We have a list of all the players who played football in the FCA this year, John, and some local athletes who will be competing for national championships. Before we get to the games, John, the All-FCA teams were announced this week, and I've expressed my frustration enough. I'd like to hear your opinion on how in 2016, a 17-team conference produced 191 players that received accolades as an all-conference player.
I think it's a little big. I think there could be a leaning out there. I think there needs to be some a little bit more discretion in the selections. I think there's a lot of, I want to get these guys on the team, and everybody gets what they want. I haven't been in the room for that selection, so I don't know, but you have to think the more players are on that all-conference team, the more watered down the award itself is.
And you make a good point, is that it's a coaches panel that votes, and I appreciate this is a high school all-conference selection. There is not the accountability or credibility you'd like to see at the Division I college level or the NFL level, but the fact of the matter is there are 8 players who were starting quarterbacks for their teams this year. They're on the first 2 teams of the All-FCA roster.
At various positions, not all at quarterback.
We'll have more on that in the B block when Donald Eng joins us. But when Donald Eng joins us, John, we're going to look at the state semifinals games we've got coming up on Monday. We have a redaction first. We will not be at New Canaan, Notre Dame of West Haven. We will be covering the Ridgefield-Shelton game from Shelton High at 6:30 on Monday due to some rights issues within the state and who has the ability to cover these games. We get bumped around, but we still get a great game with Ridgefield and Shelton.
You get a great game. You get 2 really perennially powerful programs, and you also get that FCAC SCC matchup. They did the challenge for a few years when there was an extra week in the season. You've got a couple of those matchups now in the second round, which speaks to the strength of the SCC and the FCAC. And what I love about this is it's a 7-6 game. You have 2 undefeated teams playing in a 1-4 matchup. One of those undefeateds is going to go home with 1 loss, and a 2-loss team is going to play for the Double L title.
Both these 2-loss teams eliminated undefeated teams on the road in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, they stepped up and got the job done on Monday night, and I think that speaks a lot for those teams. I would like to see if that's a healthy Shelton team.
And it'll be very interesting, our first look that we get at Shelton, our first look at a team from outside the FCAC this year. It's one of our HAN markets, though. We do know the team a little bit. Let's spend a moment on the Ridgefield Tigers, though, and it was tough giving Kevin Coleman the day off knowing that we were going to be making this transition to his Tigers, but Ridgefield on offense has been so dominant really since Drew Fowler came back healthy after that shoulder injury. They made the transition and put Shane Palmer at running back. And as we were going through numbers today, double-checking on player stats, Shane Palmer, I think, should be the conference MVP this year. He scored 16 touchdowns, 7 of them receiving, 9 of them rushing, had over 1,500 yards total. He was a punt returner as well for this team. So much of the talk was about Ryan O'Connell as the most versatile player in the conference, but I really think it's Shane Palmer for the Tigers.
I think Shane Palmer makes a great case. I think the volume of touchdowns speaks a lot. And just the fact that you want to get your ball and get the ball in your best player's hands. And boy, Ridgefield does that. Plus, they've got these big 6', 6'2", 6'4" receivers that are fast on the edge, and they can beat you out there too.
And they move them around, John. You'll see Chris Longo, one of that 6'4" receivers, and Colin Lowe, who's 6'2". They'll be out wide in those empty formations. They'll use them in the slot. They get them involved and get them touches early on. How does the Shelton offense match up against the Ridgefield defense that is a little undersized for the Tigers, but they are very athletic and they fly around to the football?
They fly around. They have in the past shown a vulnerability on the edge. So if Shelton can get the edge, run those C-D gap plays right off the outside of the tight end, right off the outside of the tackle if you're running to the slot or trips, and get into that opening, that's a place where sometimes Ridgefield's vulnerable. Yet we thought that West Haven would do just that, and they didn't.
And it's a Ridgefield team that has come from behind and won several times this year. If you let them hang around, you give the Tigers a little bit of hope, you expect that they'll be able to make plays and close down the stretch. On the other semifinal game, you've got number 1 Darien, number 4 Southington, both undefeated. This is a rematch of last year's semifinal. The Wave rolled to a 41-7 victory. Coach Trefone seemed fairly confident when we talked with him after their quarterfinal game about this matchup.
I think he was confident that they were healthy, that they had gotten the job done against Greenwich, and Greenwich was probably a good opponent for Darien going into a game with Southington because Greenwich likes that wide open style of football. Southington likes the same. They were really one of the first ones in the state to go to it, drove a lot of people crazy in the early days as they tried to figure out how to defend the spread. I think Darien has the players and the tools to contain Southington, but sometimes that's not even enough with the points they put up on the board.
What stands out to me, and it's been the biggest difference, I think, for Darien in their last 2 games, the Wave gets pressure rushing 4, and they get a lot of pressure. You see the ends, Quinn Fay and Cord Fox, get to the quarterback, get sacks, force fumbles from those edge rushing positions, and they can drop 7 into coverage. They can play 5 under man with 2 safeties high. I think that becomes a difference and is why the Wave is too much for Southington.
It amazes me how much pressure Darien can get rushing 4. Also, they're big. If you look at it from 30,000 feet, if you look at it like a casual fan, you think the big line is going to be a run stopping. These guys are big, but can they move and can they get on your quarterback quickly? I want to bring up a topic here just looking at the double L bracket, and I'm kind of surprised this hasn't come up yet, and I will be surprised if we make it through the next 2 weeks without it being discussed. Do you look at reseeding?
That's a very good point, actually, and it's something they don't do in the CIAC for any of the sporting events.
No.
It's a true bracket, which is an interesting concept, and I am a fan of the true bracket, actually. Imagine reseeding, though, and you got a Darien-Ridgefield semifinal happening, but I love the idea that we could be seeing an All-FCA championship.
Oh, same here. I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't know that I think there should be reseeding. I think the bracket is set. If you can pull off that upset on the road, as Ridgefield and Shelton did, you should be rewarded. But I've also been on 1-loss teams that didn't make the state playoffs. And if you're a 1-loss team that goes home and then potentially watches a 2-loss team win your class, you have to think somebody's going to bring it up at some point.
It's very, very interesting. We'll see that in Class S later on. You've got number 8 Seymour, who pulled off a big upset. Let's look at Class L. You've got number 1 Windsor, number 4 Middletown. It's the second year in a row they've faced in the playoffs. It's a regular season rematch. Both these teams having great years. Windsor, though, has really, I think, been one of the more underrated teams in the state this year. They've quietly gone about their business, always so athletic. They handle that play up in the Valley so well. What impresses you about the Warriors?
They shut out Harding, and you can say what you want about a team coming out of the Constitution State Conference, but Harding went from a team that struggled in the FCAC to a team that really dominated the CSC, made the states here, and they're a dangerous, dangerous offense. To hold them to nothing is impressive. I'd like to see the film of that game and see just how Windsor did it.
And you got Middletown, who scored 50-plus as well. I don't think we'll see that kind of a shootout in the semifinals, but what chance do the Dragons have to hang with the Warriors here?
They've got to try to put as close to 50 points on the board as they did, is what I think they're going to have to do.
In the other semifinal, New Canaan, Notre Dame of West Haven, the Rams struggling against Massac. I think there was that Turkey Bowl hangover a lot of people thought we would see from Darien. That was still at Dunning Field. Notre Dame of West Haven, second year in a row as a low seed. They've knocked off a 2 or 3 seed. Another rematch here. They are skilled. They are fast, and they're much bigger than people give the Green Knights credit for.
Darien and New Canaan coming out of the Turkey Bowl, I think almost flipped roles that some people would expect. Where Darien came out the victor, they had watched that big lead fall by the wayside, then fought back, won with the field goal in overtime. Very emotional win. And New Canaan really had the better of play for quite a bit of that Thanksgiving Day game, and then came out and struggled. You would think that they would be, and this is how they've shown themselves in prior years, that they would come out so angry after losing that game to Darien when they do lose it, that just whoever's in their way between Thanksgiving or the FCA championship and the state final had better watch out, because they were coming to physically take it out on you that they had lost that one game. Maybe it says more about Massac's toughness, but we didn't see that New Canaan team that came out and posted a dominant victory after Thanksgiving that we've seen so many other years. And I've heard just so much positive about Notre Dame West Haven and how fast they are and how strong they are.
And when you look at this matchup, this is a New Canaan defense we talked a lot about through the regular season. They've now given up 37 points and 28 points in their last two games. This is a very talented Notre Dame West Haven offense that could catch the Rams sleeping if they get off to a slow start again.
But do you think that giving up that many points in 2 consecutive games has the Rams really buckling down in their preparation for Notre Dame, for what they know is going to be an offense that will stress and test their defense?
And the other argument you could make against that is, was this a defense that benefited from playing against some of the lesser competition with some of those FCA teams that really hadn't hit their stride? The toughest game you could argue would have been against Ridgefield week 2, but they played a rookie quarterback for the second half of that game.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, but I think that's going to be an interesting test for the Rams on Monday night at Dunning Field in New Canaan.
Let's take a look at Class M. You've got the number 1 seed Valley Old Lyme facing off against the last remaining FCA team, St. Joe's, who beat Wolcott 48-21. Cadets offense gets back on track after taking a beating on Thanksgiving. How do they continue to go on the road here and pull off another upset of a higher seed, John?
Well, Valley is not unbeatable. They're coming in at 10-1. If St. Joe's is truly back on stride, if they're the team that we saw rally back against Staples here on the HAN network back in November, I think they would be okay, and that they would have a viable shot against Valley Old Lyme.
I think on Thanksgiving they tried to run the football a little too much, got away from their real mantra. If you want to run the football at St. Joe's, throw screens to Malazzi.
Right.
Dictate the clock and the pace of the game through the screens. It opens up the rest of your offense.
Yeah, I think they're at their best rolling Babineau, short passes, throw to short out, throw to screen. Run if you have to tuck and take the edge, tuck and take the edge.
On the bottom of the bracket there, you've got Hillhouse and Killingly. We talked about Hillhouse, how year in and year out, it's, all right, this is going to be the year they break through. This is the year they break through. Is this finally the year they find a way to break through? It was a great win against New Fairfield in the first round.
An impressive win. I mean, it wasn't the huge score that we saw in Class L, but comfortable 2-score win, pulled away late. Tough team to stop. If they're on a roll, they're going to be tough to stop.
Those games, again, Monday at 6:30, and we finally take a look here, John, at Class S. You've got Seymour with the upset over Capital Prep. They now get number 4, Rocky Hill. On the bottom, you've got Ansonia, who rolled big. They get Cromwell Portland. In my opinion, just the way my understanding and what I've always come to know about Class S in Connecticut football, this is Ansonia's conference to lose.
I want to see an Ansonia-Seymour final because I think that 2 Valley teams going at it would be a very interesting matchup. I am impressed by Seymour holding Capital to 12 points because I coached against Capital when I coached in the Constitution State Conference. We talk about dangerous, quick offenses. Those guys come out and you're playing against 11 sprinters and guys catching the ball anywhere they want to.
And I think if you get that kind of a situation with Ansonia and number 8 Seymour sitting in there, you've got the perennial title contender. If you're the Seymour coach, do you not just walk in the room and say, hey, tonight we're Buster Douglas. We don't have to win 99 of these fights, but we're going to find this one time now to knock off the champ, and what better a stage to do it?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Now you're up against a Rocky Hill team that hung 56 points on Bullard Havens. Bullard also one of the perennial contenders in the CSC. I was kind of surprised by the number of points they gave up.
Yeah, there were a couple of games in those lower classes where they put big numbers up, and I don't think a lot of people expected those kind of offensive shootouts. So that'll be the slate for next Monday at 6:30. Again, we will be live at Shelton for Ridgefield and Shelton in the 6-7 matchup of Double L. Pregame for us will start at 6 o'clock, and of course we'll have Nutmeg Sports that afternoon. But John, you'll be on the call with me. We'll have Kevin on the sideline. It's going to be a great game.
And it's a beautiful venue for football, a place I've really enjoyed coaching at.
John, thanks for coming on with us today. We're going to let you step out. Donald Eng is going to join us, and we're going to look at the first and second teams from the All-FCA selections coming up next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
1, 2, 3, Abby, you know! I want to find out how good I am. Yes, sir! If you relax, you get blown out. Let's get it done! Let's get it done!
What can you take advantage of right now?
Again, come on. I can push myself way beyond what you think.
Pressure technique. Bring it back.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking. To a partner that makes small businesses feel big. Where community comes first. Where high-tech tools go hand in hand with a human touch. Where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver. Where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now at the Black Friday sales event. Ends November 30th.
What makes Darien special during the holiday season? Locally owned shops and restaurants where you can find everything you need to make your holidays more enjoyable. Start with breakfast, then shop for everything from toys to unique gifts and the latest trends in fashion. Take a coffee break. Stop at our farmers market or one of our shops where you'll find an amazing selection of cheeses and meats. Then enjoy dining at one of our fabulous restaurants. This holiday season, experience shopping and dining in Darien.
Why cook it all this holiday? Avoid the stress of holiday planning and let your friends at Walter Stewart's in New Canaan do the heavy lifting. Whether you're looking to fill in with a few crowd-pleasing sides or you want us to prepare your whole feast, from cranberry sauce to pumpkin pie, we're ready to simplify your holiday. Place your order from our holiday menu and spend your holiday the right way, relaxing. Our fresh prepared holiday meals to go are designed with your busy schedule in mind. Visit us at stewartsmarket.com or at 229 Elm Street, New Canaan.
The holidays are a wonderful time to spend with families and friends, sharing a fantastic meal. Football season is in full swing, the fishing has been unbelievable, and it's time to make a list and check it twice. Stop at the Dock Shop, get a fix of summer, and browse loads of new products, including fishing tackle, accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or dockshop.com.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports, where we are having auditions for the first team All-FCA, and Donald Eng will get on that list with that catch. Don, there are 191 players now who've been selected to the All-Conference teams. 39 of them were All-FCA first team. 40 of them were All-FCA second team. It's a disservice to the kids, and you're taking away the credit and the pride that comes with being an all-conference player when you award it to this many players.
Well, and I think what it is it's the use of the word team that I think is kind of it makes it so jarring to see that number of players. When you think of an all-FCA first team, you think of the 11 positions on the field, or 22 offense, defense, and then a couple of specialists. And then when you see almost twice that number being all conference selections to the first team, and then more on the second team, it does seem to be quite excessive. But I do wonder, as an all-FCA player yourself, is this for the players? I mean, is this a big deal? Is this something they strive for, or I just don't know.
I think that anytime you put the pads on and you go out there and play, you want to earn that recognition, especially in a conference that's so competitive. We had 5 teams that made it to the state playoffs, 6 or 7 really altogether in the hunt, and you give your all every Friday night each week, and you want that recognition, but it comes at a cost when you award it to this many people. I mean, there were then 28 and 33 players who were named to the all-division teams. And for honorable mention, you've got 25 and 26 for the honorable mention divisions. It's just disappointing because you get that sense now that a lot of these kids, oh, well, I'm a senior, I've played for 3 years, someone knows my name. That means that way I get to be an all-FCA player. And I feel like that's the reputation the league is giving off, that the coaches are just trying to take care of their players versus really determining who are the best players in the conference.
Well, we did do the math off the air, including the honorable mentions and the divisional teams. More than 11 players. If you divide the number of all-FCA selections by the number of teams, more than 11 players per team named to some level of all-FCA.
Let's go through the rosters here for the first and second team, and we can break down a couple of the selections then and our concerns. The quarterbacks for the first team, you had Johnny McElroy of Trumbull, Brian Peters of Darien, and Corey Babineau of St. Joe's. For the running backs, it was Kevin Ioby of Greenwich, Ryan O'Connell of New Canaan, Marquise Woods of Trumbull, and Shane Palmer of Ridgefield. Right there, Don, you've got 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs. That's a lot for just the first team. Why don't you take us through the linemen and the receivers?
We have Andrew Stuber of Darien. These are offensive linemen. Nick Rome of Staples. Will Conley of New Canaan. Ryan Sweeney of Trinity Catholic. Chase Pyro of Greenwich. And then wide receivers, you have Chris Longo of Ridgefield. Dan Hoffman of Trumbull. Jared Malazzi of St. Joseph. And A.J. Hall of Norwalk.
Ryan Fitton from Staples was your first team all-conference tight end. Petro Papadopoulos, the kicker, that wrapped up the offense. On the defensive side, you had 5 linemen: Aiden Spearman of Ridgefield, James Maxson of Norwalk, Brendan Holtzclaw from West Hill, Jack Kircher of New Canaan, and Ben Craniger of Greenwich were your D linemen. For the linebackers, let's go over to Don.
You have James Fryer of New Canaan, Paul Williams of Greenwich, Mecky Barnett of West Hill, John Michael Bavona of Trinity Catholic, Finley Collins of Darien, Julian Ross of Staples, and then the defensive backs are Nick Osborne of St. Joseph, William Carpenter from Ridgefield, Matt DeLisa of Wilton, Jackson Appelt of New Canaan, Tommy Root also of New Canaan, Everett C.J. Brown from West Hill, Jeremy Young from West Hill, and Navon Austin of Bridgeport Central, and then your punters, all FCAC here, Dylan Jones of Darien and Will Sullivan of Wilton.
A little concerning to me that you need 2 punters. I don't understand why you would have 8 defensive backs.
Well, with the firepower on these offenses, why do you need 1 punter?
Exactly. It's impressive. Looking at the second team for the all-conference selections, Drew Fowler of Ridgefield was at quarterback with Christian Frocage and Drew Pine. So we have 6 quarterback selections on 2 teams. Tyrell Diaz of Stanford, Nick Malia, and Elliot Pooley were the second team running backs. For the offensive line, it's Colin Carroll, John Alvarson of Stanford, Carroll was Wilton, Blake Guerreri of Greenwich, Matthew Tarantino of Ridgefield, and Teddy Hood from New Canaan. Receivers were Tyler Ferris of Greenwich, Colin Lowe of Ridgefield, Mike Whiting from Ward, Aiden Cudsey of Ludlow, Gerardo Gonzalez is your second team tight end, and Ben Vandermew from Staples is the kicker. Don, why don't you take us through the defense here?
On the defensive line, you have Sam Calandro of Greenwich, Justin Plank of Darien, Stephen Nobles of Wilton, Rocco Swenson of Danbury, Marvin Jean-Pierre of Brian McMahon. The linebackers are Chris Chicharella of Trinity Catholic, Tyler Llewellyn of Fairfield Ward, Kyle Schifrin of Wilton, Jesse Lawson of St. Joseph, Ryan Kelly of Trumbull, Andrew Bowersfeld of New Canaan, Terrence Moore of Danbury, Mike Delorio of St. Joseph, and Patrick Lang of Ridgefield. Moving on to the defensive backs, you have Malik Brown and Dante Vines, both of Danbury, Amare Brown of McMahon, Dominic Sverchik of Trinity Catholic, Troy Murray of Trumbull, Marshall Vines of Danbury, Matthew Lombardo of Ridgefield, Connor Langen of Greenwich, and Andrew Speed of Staples.
Those last two names down there listed as defensive backs. Connor Langen, obviously the starting quarterback for Greenwich. Andrew Speed, the starting quarterback for Staples. Now you have a total of 8 players who played quarterback for these offenses out of the 17 schools who are on the first or second team. The stats, according to Max Preps, and these may be a little off, according to Max Preps for these two players, Andrew Speed, as a defensive player, recovered 1 fumble this season. Connor Langen had 7 tackles on the year. And that's what we qualify as being a second-team all-conference player.
It almost seems like they were nominated as a quarterback, but there were already 6 on the team, and so they sort of found another place to put them, to get them onto the All-FCA team.
And that is fine to me if that is the case, but at what point in time are we still calling this an all-conference team, then, is my point. If we're just awarding seniors the recognition, let's find a different way to do it, because this is not the proper way. Ryan Fitton, who was a great tight end for Staples, and this is an offense that doesn't throw the ball much, 21 catches this year, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, missed a lot of time due to injury. How does he edge out Gerardo Gonzalez, the second-team tight end from Trinity? They're both seniors. Gerardo, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. What about the sophomore Philip Pesmeg from St. Joe's, who plays the Y position? You could call him a receiver or a tight end. His build fits the tight end type more. 41 catches, 640 yards, 8 touchdowns. Is this a popularity contest? Is it a charity event? The list goes on and on. Drew Fowler is a second-team quarterback. Fowler had a great year, and his team is doing tremendously. The quarterback who filled in for him for most of the season had better stats than Fowler.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that I did notice when I looked at the All-FCA selections, was that he was on the second team, and I thought to myself, well, Ridgefield's other quarterback who played more than half of the season, is he on this list anywhere? So that was something that I had noticed when I saw that. And I do want to stress here, obviously, we're mentioning some of these kids, obviously, and it's clearly not their fault. We don't blame them at all.
No.
It's an honor for them, and congratulations. But it does seem a bit excessive.
This is by no means a shot at any of these players, and I congratulate every player on this list. It was a great year. If you made this list, you deserved it, and you earned this accolade. I'm calling out the coaches, and now I'm saying, are you diminishing the true meaning of this award? Are we taking away from the kids? And let's say you're a kid, Tyler Ferris from Greenwich, had 230 receiving yards this year, 3 touchdowns. Tyler is a great kid. He's a great young player. Will have a good college career. What does it say to Peter Roberta of Trumbull, who had 620 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns, that he's not on either of these lists? There's something wrong with this system, and we've got a lot of talk going on about what they want to do with Fairfield. With the Fairfield football programs right now. Is the FCAC about to go into divisions? We're making all these changes. The biggest disservice we're doing to these kids right now is that we're telling all of them they're equally great. They all deserve to be the best player in the conference. And that's not the case, and it can't be the case.
Well, if you were FCAC commissioner for the day, the first team would be a team. What would you have? You have essentially a lineup?
You would have, exactly. It would be a lineup. You have 25 positions, 11 starters on offense, 11 starters on defense, with a kicker, punter, and an athlete.
Essentially the all-pro team.
Yes. Okay. You could maybe include your offensive MVP of the year and your defensive MVP of the year, so it gets you that one extra. You're now looking at 27 kids who could be on this list that are true first-team players.
Versus 39.
Versus 39 and 40 on the second team. I appreciate we're in the generation now where everyone has to get a trophy. We're considering feelings at all times, but what are we doing to these kids with this? What are we really telling them? If you participate, if you play high school football, that means that you're an all-conference player. You can take that with you.
Well, if you could put the coaching hat back on for a moment now. Now, what you said? What are we telling the kids? if you could for a moment try to look at it from a coach's perspective, what are we telling the kids? I mean, I think what we're telling the kids is that the coaches, what I think the coaches would say they're telling the kids is that they want to reward them for the hard work they put in during the season. That if I were a coach for a day, that would probably be my perspective looking at it. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I appreciate that, but I know for a fact that the voting on this is done in a room with just the coaches, so it turns into a situation of, are the coaches just looking at each other? Hey, Don, you vote for my guy, I'll vote for yours.
So they're horse trading in the smoke-filled room?
Exactly. I mean, what's going on in this room? It's one of the things in the FCAC right now with football that they're going to bring up and be a little disconcerted about. Don, let's take one more quick break here. Again, congratulations to all the All-FCAC selections. We are not blaming those kids or diminishing what they've accomplished this year. It's just unfortunate the way it's panned out. But when we get back, we've got some local stories with sports that concern the national level and all that coming up on Nutmeg Sports.
At Hoyt Livery, our goal is to always... Sam, what are you doing? We're filming a commercial.
I'm checking out the new Hoyt on the Go app.
Hoyt's here!
This is now 44 years I've been in this business. Digital came along. After I was in business for about 6 years, I had to totally reinvent the business. So I had to make a tremendous investment in my business. And Milford Bank was there for me. I don't really just consider Milford Bank a bank. I consider them a trusted partner in my business. My name is Jim Wilson, owner of Milford Photo. I choose to bank with Milford Bank.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Recently renovated and home to one of Connecticut's largest indoor turf fields, InSports is a multi-sport recreation center providing state-of-the-art facilities for league play, camps, and youth programs. Sign up now for InSports High School Passing League. These 7-on-7 teams formed by area high schools offer a great way for football players to stay sharp in the off-season. 3 weekly 6-week sessions will be offered from December 1st through January 5th, January 12th through February 16th, and February 23rd through March 30th. For more information, visit insportscenter.com. Like and follow us on Facebook.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network. And we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Back on the HAN network as we shift now and look at a couple of local athletes who are competing at the national level. We start first with former girls soccer captain Katie Donovan of New Canaan High School, who led the University of Chicago soccer team to the NCAA Division III Final Four this past weekend. Number 11 Chicago reached the Final Four in dramatic fashion, edging out number 18 Pomona Pitzer 6-5 on penalty kicks in the quarterfinals. Chicago will now take on number 5 Messiah in the national semifinals this Friday from Salem, Virginia. The second semifinal will feature Brandeis against Washington St. Louis, and the winners will meet in the national championship on Saturday at 5:30. So best of luck to Katie Donovan who will be starting in goal for the 23rd time this year for Chicago. Dom, we also have some high school athletes competing at the national level.
Yes, 7 Ridgefield High School cross-country runners competed at the Foot Locker Northeast Regional Championships this last Saturday at Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. 5 of them medaling. The best individual finish came from 9th grader Tess Pisanelli. She finished 4th overall in the girls' freshman race with a time of 19 minutes 38.4 seconds over the 3.1 mile course. Pisanelli was the first among the Connecticut runners in the race, finishing behind winner Sophia Musini of Little Neck, New York. 2 Ridgefield runners also medaled with top 10 finishes in the girls' senior race. That would be Rachel Maw, who was 6th overall with a time of 20 minutes 53.2 seconds, and Haley Green, 9th overall with a time of 21 minutes 6.8 seconds. So congratulations to the Ridgefield High School cross-country runners competing at the Foot Locker Northeast Regionals in the Bronx.
Very cool. Congratulations to both of them. A lot of fun, and we'll keep an eye out for them at the Nationals and as well as the Chicago team. Don, that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for coming on. We're off till next week, but of course you've got coffee break tomorrow at 11 a.m. and we're back next Monday. We've got Nutmeg Sports, A&L, and state semifinals with Shelton and Ridgefield at 6:30. Let's make the All-FCA teams great again. See you next time.